want to thank the Claire Booth Institute because they really promote people like me to speak to the American public and promote the awareness of the dangers of Sharia law and radical Islam on Western society. I also want to thank very much the Heritage Foundation for giving me this opportunity to talk to you today. Many Muslim groups today are asking for Sharia law wherever they move to other countries in the West. We hear them demanding it in England, UK, and it was also given to them to a degree to practice in the UK and Canada for a while. Now there are groups in America that are demanding Islamic Sharia law to be practiced right here in America. They are telling the West that Sharia law is compatible with democracy. Let us see whether this is compatible with democracy, because it's completely opposite to our value system, to our freedoms, and to our Bill of Rights. For example, in France today, there is a naturalized French citizen from Algerian origin. He's a professor, and he recently said the following in France: "The laws of your republic do not conform to those of the Quran and should not be imposed on Muslims, who can only be governed by Sharia law. We are therefore going to seize the power, and that is our due." We will start in Roubaix, which is a city in France, which is a town that has about 60% of their people are Muslim. The next mayor will be Muslim. He's alerting the community. And after negotiation with the state and the region, we will declare Roubaix an independent Muslim enclave, a separatist movement. That is what, wherever Sharia goes into a non-Muslim country, that is the ultimate goal, is to have a separatist movement from the larger community, declare itself an Islamic region, not loyal, but hostile to the larger state. And this has happened before. It has happened in many, many areas of the world. It's happening right now in Chechnya. Kosovo declared its independence, and it is now a majority Muslim state, and actually churches are being burnt right now in Kosovo. The reason I wrote this book was to tell the West that there are also many Muslims who moved into the West escaping Sharia. One of them is myself. And Sharia has oppression, especially of women. So the West must hear the other side, and they must never assume that all Muslims are in agreement and they want Sharia. Every ill in Muslim society is somehow preserved and protected because it is connected to a very archaic 7th century law that is static and refuses change, because under Sharia, nothing can be changed. It must be preserved the way it was when Muhammad was alive. All these laws are inspired by 7th century value system. Let us see what is Sharia laws. What are the laws of Sharia? We talk about it a lot. There are many privileges that Sharia gives to the Muslim head of state. Let's also talk about the definition of the Islamic State. What's an Islamic state? It must be ruled by Sharia. And to give you the definition, I'm not going to give you my own definition. I will give you the definition of an Islamic state from the words of the most prominent Muslim scholar in the 20th century, His name is Sheikh Abu al-Ala al-Mawdudi. Quote, "It seeks to mold every aspect of life and activity. In such a state, no one can regard any field of his affairs as personal or private. Considered from this aspect, the Islamic State, ruled under Sharia, bears a kind of resemblance to the fascist and communist state," unquote. By the admission of the most prominent Muslim leader of the 20th century, an Islamic State is an oppressive, like a communist, similar to a fascist state. And by the way, not one Muslim organization or group challenged him on this definition. They all agreed with him. Many wonder why almost all Muslim countries are ruled by dictators. That is not a coincidence. Sharia can be very seductive to nations who lost their way and need control. When Islam expanded, it gave a document to the leaders of these countries, gave them a document to authorize tyranny under God, a gift from God, a dictator's dream. It's handed to a leader from God. If Islam is a policeman, Sharia law is the gun. I don't think either one can survive without the other. There is a lot of feeling of lack of confidence on the part of many Muslims. Like, if they let go of Sharia, they won't be able to control Muslims within Islam. And that is something that doesn't speak well on the religion. You don't need laws authorizing the murder of apostates to preserve people in a religion. According to mainstream Sharia books, a Khalifa, who's the Muslim head of state, is allowed to hold office through seizure of power, meaning through force, meaning through a coup d'etat or an assassination of the previous president. That is allowed under Sharia, and that is the number one law that is totally against our constitution and our way of life. Is it any wonder that practically every Muslim head of state has come after a coup d'etat, after an assassination of the previous president? It's allowed under the laws of Islam. Sharia law also exempts the Muslim head of state from being charged with serious crimes, such as murder, adultery, robbery, theft, and drinking. Any wonder why we had Saddam Hussein? It's allowed. Arab media covered up for him. But it's allowed under the laws of Islam. He is exempt from being tried under such laws. Another law of Sharia is it's obligatory to obey the Khalifa even if he's unjust. You must obey the Muslim head of state even if he's unjust. And actually Mawdudi went even further and said that it is better for a Muslim to live under an unjust Muslim head of state rather than a just non-Muslim head of state. So being a Muslim leader for a Muslim is number one. It doesn't matter if he's unjust. And that's why when Muslims move to another country, they say, we want a Muslim leader. Our president must be Muslim. There is no separation of church and state here. And this is something that the West must understand before they authorize Sharia to Muslim groups. Also, under Sharia, it's considered an enormity, a crime of an enormous thing to rebel against the Khalifa. You must never rebel against the Khalifa, even if he's unjust, only if he is no longer a Muslim.